Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, when I accept myself just as I am, I can change. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Engineer community. I want to talk about this amazing person that brought an amazing change to psychology. This guy, Carl Rogers, brought more a humanistic psychology. I don't know if that's the right word in English, but it really changed psychology and the way people, treat patients in psychology or in therapy or in any other area. And I love this phrase because a lot of people, what they're trying to do is they're fighting themselves to try to change some aspects of their life, but they don't realize that that same fight that they're having is creating the same behaviors that they're trying to change. So again, what Carl Rogers was saying is that we need to be able to accept ourselves as we are. And as we do that, then we're going to be able to change. So let me go a little bit deeper with that because it's the basics of the work that I do to help people change. Imagine that a person is struggling with procrastination. They're struggling with people pleasing. They're struggling setting boundaries that they're not being able to make changes, right? So what do normally people do when they're struggling in any area of their life? They beat themselves up, they judge themselves, they criticize themselves, they reject themselves. And if you've been trying that and you keep getting the same results, maybe it's time to try something different, guys. Listen to that again. If you keep doing what you're doing, why are you expecting different results? And I know the answer, seriously. I know the answer because this is what the mainstream is teaching. There's so many people out there, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Abraham Hicks, Dr. Dispenza, that in this specific area, they have amazing things that they teach, many of them. But in this specific area, making behavioral changes, I truly believe that they don't get the mind the way Carl Rogers, Vessel van der Kolk, Gabor Mate, and so many other people get it. So if you keep trying what you're trying and you expect different results just because other people have taught you that that is the right way to go, because Tony Robbins with millions and millions and millions of followers around the world says that it needs to work for everyone. But the truth is, it doesn't work for most people. When there is such an ingrained mechanism, behavior within us to try to protect ourselves. And you might say, but Tommy, how is people pleasing protecting me? Yes, it is protecting you, and I'll explain that to you for you in a second. People pleasing normally is the adaptation, the behavior somebody created to try to feel loved and accepted. So remember that there are two main human drivers. There's two main human drivers: seeking for love or numbing the pain of the lack of love. Seeking for love or numbing the pain of the lack of love. So what is going on? Normally, if I don't feel love, I'm going to create a mechanism, I'm going to create an adaptation to try to feel loved and accepted. So normally, people pleasing is a way of feeling love and acceptance. Procrastination is another protective mechanism. Procrastination works like this. If you do and it doesn't go as expected, it's going to feel so much pain compared to not doing. The not doing creates pain, but is not as much as doing and not receiving the results, not getting the results that you expect. So for the mind, the lesser pain is procrastination. Although not doing hurts, keeps you stuck, the pain of doing and not getting the results that you expect is so big that people tend to not do what they need to do, and they do procrastination. So procrastination is a protective mechanism to avoid feeling more pain. So when we start understanding how the mind works, it makes total sense what Carl Rogers taught. In this case, Carl Jung taught many of these similar things. Carl Rogers was saying that we need to accept ourselves as we are to then be able to change. What most people do is the opposite, as I was saying. They beat the crap out of themselves. They beat themselves up for doing what they're doing, expecting to change. But for most people, guys, most people don't get the results that they're looking for. So if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So if you want to be able to start making changes, we need to practice love and accepting of what is. Okay, I'm finding it very difficult to set boundaries. There are valid reasons why I'm not setting boundaries. So what is this protecting me from? This question, I got it from Gabor Mate, that he teaches us. What is this protecting me from? Whether it is doing drugs, not setting boundaries, procrastination, perfectionism, whatever it is that you're doing, instead of seeing that as a bad thing, see it as a protective mechanism. So, what is this protecting me from? When you come from exploration mode, and listen to this, guys, when we come from exploration mode, not judgment, not criticism, not control, when we come from exploration and learning, it opens the mind. Control, judgment, criticism closes the mind. I get a lot of people that tell me, but Tommy, I've been trying the questions that you ask and I'm getting nowhere with these type of things. I read your book and I'm not getting any nowhere. Or Tommy, I watched some videos of yours. I'm practicing these skills and I'm getting nowhere. It doesn't work. Yeah, the problem is, again, guys, when you're using my tools from ego, it will never, ever, ever work. Yes, because when you're coming from control, when you're trying to move away from the pain, when you're trying to manipulate change, it's still control. And control doesn't open the mind. That's why so many people struggle with this when they try to do it by themselves. I had people that bought my course, bought my books, and they tell me that they're still struggling, not being able to apply this. Exactly, because you didn't have a unconditional loving role model, it makes it very difficult to be able to put yourself there as a loving role model to yourself, loving and accepting what is. That's why I recommend people to work with me one-on-one, because it's in those sessions that they're able to start truly developing that unconditional love. If you keep trying to apply these tools from ego, not from spirit, not from unconditional love, from the mind logic, not from the emotional side, it ain't going to work. The mind closes up and it makes it very difficult to make changes. So we need to position ourselves in exploration and learning mode, loving and accepting what is, and from there start exploring the mind. If we keep fighting ourselves, if we keep judging ourselves, if we keep beating ourselves up, it's going to make it very difficult to start making changes, guys. So as Carl Rogers says, we need to first love what is to then be able to change. And I'm going to add to it love and understand, accept and understand why you have that mechanism. And remember that every mechanism is a protective mechanism. Procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, smoking, eating, working very hard, whatever it is that you're using. I don't know, maybe watching TV all day, being on social media, playing games, whatever that is, normally it is a protective mechanism. So the idea is to see what it is protecting you from. When you start diving deeper into the mind, it makes it easier to love and accept what is and to bring changes. So I truly recommend that you stop the inner war, that you start loving and accepting what it is and understanding. I have a picture that I love sharing with people. Let's see if I can find it fast. That is a picture that, I made up in my mind a year or two ago. A woman came to work with me and said, Tommy, I want you to teach me how to love and accept myself. And as soon as she said that, in my mind, this image was placed. It was amazing. Here it is. I just found it. Give me 1 second because I want to share with you, because it truly, really helped me, and it helps people understand better what's going on. So look at this as I share the screen. Look at this. You have unconditional love on one side and understanding over here, and the infinite sign connecting both. The infinite sign is that as I love and accept myself, I open up to understanding. As I understand myself deeper, I open myself to more love. As I love myself more, I open more to understanding. So I love this image because really it portrays this work of loving and accepting yourself, to understand yourself, to then be able to change, or more how I call it is dissolve behaviors. Because when you're able to understand yourself, you're able to start making changes, because now you don't need the people pleasing. You don't need to not set boundaries. You don't need procrastination. You don't need perfectionism. It might take some time to work and get rid of it, don't get me wrong. But as you work on these things, I guarantee when you come from this view of loving and accepting what is, that's when you're able to start making changes. So if this is making sense, let me know in the chat. If it's not making sense, let me know in the chat too. I would really like to hear from you what you think about what I just shared, if this is helping you, if you're enjoying this. And if you want to know more, remember to write the word free, and we'll share a free training with more insight and tools that are very different to what most people are teaching, to help you start loving and accepting those parts of you, to then be able to start dissolving those behaviors once and for all.